Welcome to China in Focus. I'm Tiffany Meyer. Our top story, China seizing a chance to push false narratives about the successful U.S. rescue mission in Iran. We break down Beijing's playbook. New developments in the case of two Chinese Americans charged with attempting to bomb a Florida military base. Both were born to illegal immigrants. Details on that coming up. Audiences in Toronto shocked by the cancellation of Shenyun. The move is sparking wider questions over Beijing's influence and interference concerns. A major visit raising tensions across the Taiwan Strait. Taiwan's opposition leader is heading to Beijing for talks. Is she too close to Beijing? China's economy facing new pressure from Iran war oil shock. How the global energy turmoil could hit Beijing where it hurts most. China pushing misinformation about a recent U.S. rescue mission in Iran as the U.S. showcases its military might with the successful rescue of two F-15 pilots in Iran. It's highlighting a major operational victory. Meanwhile, Communist China is circulating claims that appear inaccurate and closely align with Iran's narrative across its state media channels. NTD tested search keywords like U.S. troops on China's biggest search engine. Most coverage of the rescue is negative, with a significant number of stories echoing Iran's narrative. Chinese headlines include "The dream of U.S. air dominance burst in Iran," and "Iran publishes photos of deceased U.S. soldiers." There are also stories accusing the U.S. of using the incident as a covert operation to conceal efforts to steal ore in Iran. The allegations appear groundless and are being pushed by Iran's foreign ministry. U.S. Special Forces successfully rescued both downed pilots in Iran, despite a hefty bounty issued by Tehran on national TV. President Trump ordered an immediate rescue mission after the U.S. intelligence secured more information. During the rescue operation, the U.S. military lost a fighter jet and several other aircraft. Chinese media emphasized the heavy losses, estimated at hundreds of millions of dollars. But many Chinese internet users focused on the fact that the U.S. put soldiers' lives above money. One user commented, "Serving in the U.S. military, worth it." Another user posted $400 million plus the unforeseeable risks just to rescue a single soldier who might even be left permanently disabled. That alone is more than enough to earn the nation's trust. Compared to this, in 2020, Chinese media reported on new equipment for soldiers deployed in Tibet. One function allowed a soldier to end his own life if captured at a push of a button. The catch is that a commander in the office could also activate the function to end the soldier's life if needed. Next, the Department of Homeland Security announced charges Friday against children of illegal Chinese immigrants. They are accused of scheming to detonate homemade bombs at a military base in Florida. This comes as the Trump administration and some lawmakers push to end birthright citizenship, citing national security concerns. NTD's Flora Hua brings us the story.
A brother and sister duo, Alan and Anne-Marie Zane, are at the center of this case. The Justice Department says Alan Zane planted an improvised explosive device, or IED, at the visitor center of MacDill Air Force Base in Tampa, Florida. The DOJ charges the sister with helping her brother evade U.S. law enforcement and with tampering with evidence. The sister is in U.S. custody. If convicted on all counts, she could face up to 30 years in prison. Her brother remains at large and is believed to be in China. Here's a timeline provided by prosecutors. On March 10th, Alan Zane planted the IED at the visitor center but did not detonate it.
I will tell you that it could have been potentially very deadly.
The next day, Alan and Anne sold the car used to transport the IED from his home to the military base and then flew to China. The base did not locate the IED until 6 days later. On March 17th, Anne was arrested upon returning from China. It is worth noting that MacDill Air Force Base houses U.S. CENTCOM and the U.S. Special Operations Command. Prosecutors are not ruling out possible connections between Operation Epic Fury and the Zane's motives.
They obviously felt quite strongly about something or anything that the United States government was doing. And is there any evidence that we have at this point that any other country has been working in concert with the Zhangs? We do not have that evidence.
Special agents discovered IED components at Zane's parents' home and also arrested the parents. The parents entered the country illegally in the 1990s. They remained in the U.S. for decades despite an immigration court denying their asylum case and ordering their removal. Acting Assistant Secretary Lauren Biss said this incident underscores the severe national security threat that illegal immigration and birthright citizenship pose to the U.S. Flora Hua, NTD News.
Over to Toronto, where theatergoers this week were shocked to learn that Shenyun Performing Arts, a New York-based traditional Chinese dance company, had their shows canceled in the city. This came as a surprise to many, and it's raising concerns over how the Chinese Communist Party is interfering with artistic freedom even outside China. NTD's Fiona Ji reports.
In the heart of Toronto, 6 scheduled shows of Shenyun Performing Arts all canceled over fake bomb threats that were sent to the Four Seasons Center for the Performing Arts. Outside the theater, I spoke with audience members. Some had received tickets to the show as birthday presents. Others had driven hours from up north just to come to the city to see Shenyun. All of them completely disappointed by the cancellations and utterly shocked by the attempts to silence a peaceful performing arts company.
We were supposed to come see the show today, and it was canceled. We saw it on the news last night that it was canceled. We were very upset because we were very much looking forward to it.
The Four Seasons Center for the Performing Arts, home to the Canadian Opera Company, chose to cancel Shenyun's performances even though police already determined the threats to be unfounded. The local presenter for the performances saying this is not the first time Shenyun has received such threats, but it is the first time a performance has been canceled.
We believe these threats are part of a broader campaign by the Chinese Communist Party to silence Shenyun, a performance that showcases China before communism and highlights ongoing human rights abuses in China today.
The incident has sparked discussions in Canada and internationally. Currently, media outlets including Toronto's CP24 news channel, CTV News, the National Post, the Toronto Sun, and the Toronto Star across television, print, and online platforms have all reported on and exposed this case of transnational repression. Canadian members of Parliament also voicing their concern, calling the decision by the theatre to cancel the shows disheartening.
I think it's very unfortunate. I was able to watch the show in Hamilton with my family, and it was a great show.
And Member of Parliament James Bazan posting on X, quote, "I condemn the bomb threat that forced the evacuation and cancellation of this week's Shenyun performances at the Four Seasons Center for the Performing Arts in Toronto. These acts are completely unacceptable." Member of Parliament Garnet Jennis also weighing in on X, writing, quote, "Canada must stand for free artistic expression. The shows must go on." Shenyun Performing Arts tours globally every year. The company says its mission is to revive the traditional, divinely inspired culture of China and share it with the world. Over the past 2 years, Shenyun has been the target of over 150 bomb threats at theaters worldwide. Investigators have found these threats to be hoaxes linked to the Chinese Communist Party, and none have resulted in any actual danger. Canadian audience members and politicians alike say this is a concerning infringement of freedoms on Canadian soil.
I've heard a lot about supposedly these Chinese police stations, Chinese government overwatch. It's what foreign governments do to democracies to undermine them.
I've lived in Toronto for 43 years. I come to a lot of shows. This has never happened. I don't understand why the Chinese Communist Party has so much power in Toronto, Canada. This needs to change.
I'm sorry the show is cancelled, but you know what? It will come again, and I will see it again, and I will still enjoy it.
In the face of transnational repression, Shenyun's artists are standing strong for their faith and for their art. And audience members in Toronto are standing right alongside them. Reporting from Toronto, Fiona Ji, NTD News.
Shenyun has been the target of the Chinese Communist regime's interference dating all the way back to 2007. Since then, the company has recorded 205 attempts at sabotage. Despite the challenges, Shenyun performed in New York City, Seattle, Colorado Springs, and Aurora, Illinois over Easter weekend. NTD has been a media sponsor of Shenyun since 2006. Here's a look at what theatergoers had to say about the performance.
With vibrant dance, music, and color, Shenyun Performing Arts captivated audience members across the U.S. on April 4th, bringing the richness of traditional Chinese culture to life on stage. Theatergoers say they were amazed by the performance's artistic excellence.
This is my first time seeing Shenyun. It is so amazing. The honor and the celebration of Chinese culture is so beautiful. The costume design, the backgrounds, the digital art, the dancers, the storytelling, everything about it was so phenomenal. It's such a different experience.
I'm going to walk out of here with a skip in my step, very happy and joyous. I feel very grateful to have been able to experience this. We've been waiting a very long time, and it was a quality day.
Founded in New York in 2006, Shenyun has a mission to revive the beauty of China before the communist era. Artists draw on 5,000 years of divinely inspired culture.
This performance can definitely teach you about kindness. That was the main theme that drew me in, and kind of how karma, just be kind to everyone and celebrate everybody, and good will come back to you. I thought that was really cool when the creator came to Salvation. It was such a beautiful moment with all the dancers, all the costumes, all the background, and it just has such a beautiful message that I think everyone can follow.
Shenyun also portrays stories of faith and courage in the face of persecution in communist China. For this reason, it cannot perform in China to this day. Shenyun will continue its performances in New York City through April 12th. NTD News.
Taiwan's opposition leader is heading to China this week on what she calls a peace mission. It's raising questions about Taiwan's future as tensions with Beijing continue to grow. Chen Li-wun, head of Taiwan's main opposition party, is traveling to China Tuesday for a potential meeting with Chinese leader Xi Jinping. It would be the first visit by a leader of the Kuomintang Party, or KMT, in nearly a decade. Chen says the trip is about easing tensions, but it comes at a sensitive time. The Chinese Communist Party has been increasing military pressure on Taiwan, claiming the island as its own despite never having ruled it. Meanwhile, Taiwan's government is pushing for billions in new defense spending, partly to buy U.S. weapons. That plan is now stalled in Parliament due to objections from the KMT party. The ruling party accuses the opposition of being too close to Beijing. Taiwanese officials are urging Chen to press China to stop its military threats and respect Taiwan's right to decide its own future. Meanwhile, China continues to refuse direct talks with Taiwan's president Lai Ching-te. The visit also comes just weeks before a planned Trump-Xi summit. Adding to the tension, Beijing has restricted a large stretch of airspace near Taiwan, South Korea, and Japan for 40 days. The area is a key region where both China and U.S. forces regularly operate. Experts say China's move is unusual and could signal increased military activity in the region. According to the Wall Street Journal on Sunday, China reserved airspace across parts of the Yellow Sea and East China Sea from late March through early May, without saying why. That kind of long-term restriction is not typical. Analysts say military drills usually last just a few days, not weeks. Some experts say if it is tied to exercises, it could mark a shift in how Beijing signals its military presence. Chinese officials have not commented. And how is China's economy handling the turmoil in the global oil market? NTD's Flora Hua takes a look at the impacts on China's transportation, food, and other industries. Here's that story.
According to the Tehran Times, more than 40% of China's oil imports go through the Strait of Hormuz, and now the conflict is driving up costs for China's energy and manufacturing sectors. Beijing officially raised gas prices last month and is adding more pressure to the already slowed economy. Higher gas prices are also raising the costs of transportation and groceries. That's while China aims to boost its weakened domestic consumption. Last month, many Chinese logistic companies raised their prices. In one of China's biggest port cities, Qingdao, a truck driver working in the industry complained about the gas price hikes. He said the business was already hard due to declining demand, driving it to be more competitive. Now, after costs rose, drivers are worried that they may lose jobs. International Affairs Professor Sun Guoxiang at Taiwan's Nanhua University says losing oil supplies from Iran could continue to drive up China's energy costs. Before the conflict, 80 to 90% of sanctioned discounted Iranian oil went to China, mostly through shadow fleets. He predicts that China may consider increasing crude oil imports from Russia, Brazil, and Canada next. China relies heavily on oil imports. Sanctioned oil from Iran and Venezuela accounted for about 17% of China's total imports, and now is losing both suppliers. Flora Hua, NTD News.
A protest messaging app is shutting down in China. A messaging app created by tech entrepreneur Jack Dorsey has been removed from Apple's App Store in China on Sunday. The app, called BitChat, lets people send encrypted messages without using the internet. Instead, it connects phones directly through Bluetooth so people can stay in touch without Wi-Fi or cell service. That feature has made it popular during protests like in Iran, where the regime cut off internet access to block communication. Beijing officials say the app breaks rules around services that could influence public dissent or organize large groups. Because of that, Apple pulled it from the App Store in China. BitChat is still available in other parts of the world and has already been downloaded millions of times. Coming up, North Korea signaling a shift amid the Iran war. Seoul says Pyongyang is distancing from Tehran, avoiding criticism and eyeing possible U.S. talks. And a Chinese human rights lawyer still missing after nearly a decade. Now a new statue unveiled in his honor, drawing crowds in Southern California.
Every sculpture represents human rights and freedom.
More on that after the break here on China in Focus. Welcome back to China in Focus. I'm Tiffany Meyer. North Korea is pulling back from longtime ally Iran. At the same time, it's keeping the door open to the United States. That's according to South Korean lawmakers during a briefing Monday by the country's intelligence agency.
Seoul's National Intelligence Service, or NIS, said Pyongyang hasn't sent weapons or supplies to Iran since the war began in late February and has stayed notably silent after Iran's supreme leader Ayatollah Ali Khamenei was killed in airstrikes. North Korea also did not congratulate Khamenei's son after he was named Iran's new leader. While China and Russia have spoken out repeatedly on the conflict, Pyongyang has issued just 2 toned-down statements so far and has avoided direct criticism of U.S. President Donald Trump. The NIS believes that restraint is deliberate, aimed at preserving diplomatic space ahead of the summit between Chinese President Xi Jinping and Trump in May. At the same time, South Korean intelligence says the war is adding to pressure on North Korea's economy, forcing Pyongyang to look beyond Iran for support. Park Sun-won is a member of the South Korean Parliament's Intelligence Committee.
North Korea is also facing significant economic difficulties due to the war in the Middle East. They are experiencing setbacks in securing industrial supplies, rising prices, and soaring exchange rates. Amid these circumstances, they are making moves to secure additional oil from Russia.
Intelligence officials say Kim Jong-un's recent comments about getting along with the U.S. point to a calculated move, positioning North Korea for talks with Washington once the Middle East conflict calms down.
Nearly a decade has gone by, and a renowned Chinese human rights lawyer is still missing. Hundreds from around the U.S. gathering in Southern California over the weekend to attend the unveiling of a new statue made in his honor. NTD's Jack Bradley has the story.
California's Mojave Desert may not be the first place you look for art or activism for human rights, but there lies Liberty Sculpture Park, welcoming its newest addition to its collection.
Every sculpture represents human rights and freedom.
Gao Zhisheng, a human rights lawyer who disappeared in China nearly 10 years ago, honored here at Liberty Sculpture Park in Southern California. Hundreds of people from around the country coming to see the unveiling of a new statue of Gao Zhisheng. The sculptor names it Gazing at the Starry Sky.
Because the star is the early way we connected together, because we don't know where is him.
He dedicated his life to serving those who were oppressed, especially those suppressed for their religious views, whether they're Christian, Falun Gong, regardless of which, if they were persecuted by the Chinese Communist Party, he stood up for them.
Gao Zhisheng, a prominent human rights lawyer, has been nominated 3 times for the Nobel Peace Prize. He was last seen in August 2017 and has not been heard from since. His whereabouts remain unknown. His wife, Gung He, now in the U.S. with their children, worries her husband may have been murdered by members of the Chinese Communist Party. Gao, once named one of the top 10 lawyers in China in early 2001 by the Chinese Ministry of Justice, the Chinese regime then turned against him when he began to defend vulnerable groups in China, often at no cost. Groups like Falun Gong practitioners, a spiritual group that practices truthfulness, compassion, and tolerance, and is heavily persecuted by the CCP. He even sent open letters to the CCP General Secretary and Premier back in 2005, asking authorities to stop the torture and persecution of Falun Gong believers.
In China, even normal people speak out for the truth will have a bigger danger for their lives. But if you trying to protect those who telling the truth, help Falun Gong, help those who are treated unfairly, you will definitely bear more risk.
Since 2006, the CCP arrested and sentenced Gao to prison multiple times, where he suffered intense torture, including with electric shock.
When they arrested Gao Zhisheng and beat him, and they tortured him so much.
The sculpture garden where his statue resides sits among several works of art meant to shine a light on the atrocities of the Chinese regime.
The artist should tell everyone truth. This is our responsibility.
At the sculpture park in June 2021, artist Chen Wei-ming unveiled a statue depicting CCP leader Xi Jinping as a coronavirus molecule, dubbed the CCP virus. The next month, that statue was burned down. 2 men later sentenced for the arson, one a CCP agent. And Chen, well, he built a new one.
If I give up, they win.
This time out of steel.
Over 35,000 rebar. How to destroy this statue now?
He even made another, taking it on tour across the country. Many calling Liberty Sculpture Park an oasis of freedom in the face of oppression from communism.
Liberty Sculpture Park is a special place because it's dedicated to victims of communism and those that resisted communism.
There are many people in China today, just like human rights lawyer Gao Zhisheng, still being persecuted.
Although Gao Zhisheng is missing, his courage to fight for human rights in the face of tyranny from the Chinese Communist Party lives on. In Uramo, California, I'm Jack Bradley, NTD News.
That's all for today's China in Focus. I'm Tiffany Meyer. If you have any feedback on the show or have something you'd like to see us cover, send us an email at chinainfocus@ntd.com. We'd love to hear from you. Round the clock original news coverage, visit us at ntd.com or download our NTD app. Thanks for watching. See you tomorrow.